So, like I said, my name is Paul Gardner, and former U.S. Marine. I was in the Marine Corps in 0311, a rifleman in the infantry back in 2001 to 2003, and served during the initial invasion of Iraq, all the way from Kuwait to Baghdad on the push-up in 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines, and Golf Company. So basically, without, really, we were in Altar Maya, and I won't get into a long drawn out version of everything. I'll just kind of get to the important parts that really matter. But we went to, stayed at Baghdad University and woke up in the morning and went to the city of Altar Maya. Had no idea why. I heard two versions after the fact from my fellow Marines. One was that we were looking for Saddam, which I don't think that was it. The second one was that we were going there to kind of see if we could pick a fight with somebody because that town no one had gone through there yet, and there was a convoy that was going to be going through the next day. So we're going to go see if anybody was there, and if so, kill them if need be, so that the convoy that went through the next day didn't get lit the fuck up. So I kind of tend to believe that a little bit more. So we crossed over a pontoon bridge and we're there for like 15 minutes. And I don't know, we had gotten out so many times. There was a lot of complacency going on. We had done what we did that day so many times on the push up and never got hit because all of our fucking air assets and our tanks just killed everybody in the invasion. I mean, it was just, if I could go back and do it over again, I would have been tanker in the invasion, re-enlisted, and then been a grunt. That's what I would have done because they killed everybody. It was just awesome. So we had done this so many times where we got out and set up security perimeter or whatever, and then we didn't get hits and didn't get to kill anybody, so we'd load back up and continue on. So when we did it this time, it's just like no big deal at this point. I'm sure we wouldn't get to kill anybody. We'll just get out and do our thing and get back up and go to the next spot. So we got out and we were there for like 15, 20 minutes. A lot of people around. Next thing you know, there's nobody around. And we all kind of, after the fact, when I got to talk to everybody, we all said the same thing. Like every one of us was thinking the same thing. Like we're probably getting ready to get hit or this is strange, but there's no one said anything about it. And then we got hit by RPGs and small arms, and I jumped into a fighting hole that was already dug there. And it was like the deepest fighting hole I've ever freaking been in. It was too deep to be a real fighting position. But so we started laying down fire and everything. And once we kind of got our shit together, we started punching out and fighting house to house and stuff. And I won't really go into too many details about why or anything else about it, but basically I got separated from my squad actually, kind of got a little left behind. So me and another guy are sitting in the ambush site. We kind of look around, we're like, fuck, there's nobody else around here except for the Amtrak, where's everybody else at? We wound up linking up with another squad because we wanted to go get in a fight and kill people. So that was an interesting thing, kind of bumping and bounding, just me and him with no comms, and didn't tell anyone what we were doing. It was pretty stupid looking back on it, but we wanted to go link up with our guys and get the fight. So we bounded about 500 yards through territory. We just kind of followed the dead bodies until we found our Marines and linked up with them. And we took fire from a house across the street. And so we went ahead and went across the street to go find the guys that shot at us. We shot a small a rocket at the house, and that kind of flushed them out into the backyard of the house. So we went into the backyard, and since I wasn't with my squad, nobody was telling me what to do, for one. And being a Lance Corporal, a brand new Lance Corporal, because I was, just got promoted. I was kind of looking for orders, but wasn't really getting any because I wasn't with my squad or fire team. So it was pretty much just a fire team at that point in the backyard. And then another fire team went and cleared the house out next door, and they were the ones that told us that we were trying to make entry into the house initially, but they were like, "Hey, the bad guys, they fled into the backyard. Go get them." We were like, "Good to go." So that's when we went around the house into the backyard. I was kind of the last one to get there, and all the good cover, there wasn't much, but just from the angles of the shots that they were taking, but all the good cover was kind of taken. This big tree was there. One guy was behind that, and then another guy was behind something else to my right, and then a guy was at the corner of the house. So I didn't really want to just kind of stand out in the open and shoot at stuff that I didn't really know. I knew that everyone else was shooting at a bunker. We called it a bunker in the backyard, but it was either a one-room guest house or a mud hut, like a storage shed or something, but it was basically just a mud hut in the backyard, and the bad guys were in and around that. So I didn't just kind of want to hang out and start, trading fire. So I decided I'd go ahead and round the corner of the house and get on the left flank of that bunker, so that way we could hit them from both sides as opposed to just all of us focusing our fire on one freaking side of the bunker. And so I went ahead and rounded the corner of the house and go ahead and get my trusty carbine. So went ahead and rounded the corner of the house, and as soon as I did, if I'm looking at kind of 12, focusing on where I'm gonna either make entry in this house or get behind some cover so we can get on the flank. Right at my 3 o'clock, I look and I see a bad guy low crawling away from the bunker. I assume trying to do the same thing that I was trying to do, which was, get on our flanks and get in a better position to shoot at us and kill us from. So went ahead and put my front side post on I had an M16A2 with the carrying handle, iron sights and everything. So no red dot, no light, fucking nothing. So went ahead and put my front sight on that guy, and it was the first time as I started engaging him, it was the first time I'd seen rounds from, my own carbine rifle hit another human being at that distance, and knew that they were, without a doubt mine, and felt fucking awesome. So I just kept fucking doing it. I was watching this guy's body it reminded me of a fish flopping out of the water or something, or a fish out of water kind of, flopping around every time I was hitting him. So I'm sitting there shooting him, just fucking getting off on it. And the only reason I stopped, and I didn't know how many times you're supposed to even shoot someone. I just, just fucking started shooting, and I was just like, fucking get some. This is pretty awesome. And so the only reason I quit shooting him is because his buddy, 3 or 4 yards behind him, so behind him, but to my right, popped out of the doorway of the bunker, or just exposed himself, whatever, and started shooting at me. I'm pretty sure, at least from my memory, it was from the hip. That time when he was shooting at me, I just remember he was firing fucking wildly at me, and only exposing half of his body, so I only saw half of a torso and then a head and a rifle, mainly focusing on the rifle. So I went ahead and shifted fire to him, and I didn't, the first guy, I got the drop on him, and he didn't see me, so I kind of had that extra time to make sure my shit was lined up before I started squeezing off rounds, and I got to decide when I was going to start shooting him. But the second guy, I was, behind the power curve, so now I'm playing catch up, and instead of taking that, extra half second or however long to really get a good side alignment side picture at this guy, I just basically point shot at him, so I'm sitting there point shooting, just kind of pointing my rifle in his general direction and started squeezing off rounds. Shot about anywhere from 7 to 10 rounds at him, and my bolt locked to the rear on my M16A2. I caught him with one of the rounds somewhere, but I have no idea where. I just know it was on the torso somewhere because it kind of knocked his ass back down and out of sight in the doorway. There's no standing there 1 minute, next minute fucking just, flung back down and fell down, and I was like, fucking awesome. I got two and pretty quick. That's, pretty quick succession. That's pretty awesome, and pretty motivated, feeling pretty good about myself. And so my bolt was locked to the rear of my rifle. So I just fought hard for that ground, and killed or incapacitated two guys for that ground. And I didn't want to completely give it up, so I didn't want to go all the way back around the house, but behind hard cover to reload. But I just shifted to my right, and that way, if anyone else popped out of the doorway, kind of looked out or that doorway of that bunker, they wouldn't see me, and I'd get my gun back up and then continue mission. So I shifted to my right, maybe, I don't know, 3 yards, if that. I didn't want to go too far because I would have been in a line of fire of the guy that was still engaging from that corner. And the guy that was engaging from that corner and the other guys, they actually couldn't see any of this because just the angle of the buildings, they just didn't have the angle. So, and I didn't see them until I completely got around that corner in the first place. So they didn't see any of that. Could see me, but they couldn't see, the bad guys. So I went ahead and shifted to my right. And at this point, I did exactly what I did in the Marine Corps, on the rifle ranges back home, just how I'd done it every time. And that's when your weapon runs dry, you just put another magazine in it. It's not really that big of a deal. At least I didn't think at that time. So I, put my weapon down, pointed it down just like I'd always do. And of course, made my head kind of go down, and I took this magazine out and went ahead and started sticking it back in my double mag pouch, but there's already a mag in there. So I'm kind of rocking it back and forth, trying to get it in there, finally sink it down in there, take the other one out. And it was actually bullets up because my feed lips, I didn't know at the time because I didn't know anything about feed lip creep, but my feed lips were actually shot on my mag. So my rounds, whenever I would try and have them rounds down in my magazine pouches, would fall out like crazy. I mean, it happened all the time. I've never had an issue with this now. That's how I know it was definitely my feed lips were shot to shit, but because I've just never had an issue with it now. But so I figured, well, maybe I guess they only do that in the movies, the whole upside down magazine thing. That's bullshit. That didn't really happen because obviously it doesn't work. So anyways, I took my magazine out, and since there are rounds up, I had to kind of re-grip it in my hand because, you can't stick it, in the rifle unless you re-grip with your hand there. So kind of re-gripped it, readjusted it, put it back in there, went ahead and hit the bolt release, re-gripped, and then, from the moment I went dry and decided that I, either killed or incapacitated that guy and noticed, okay, I need to reload, from that moment was, to finally getting my gun back up was anywhere from 8 to 10 seconds. I am assuming. So finally re-gripped, looked back up, and all I see is a fucking AK pointing at me, and this is only 15 yards away. Kind of forgot to give that crucial piece of fucking info. But so 15 yards max fucking distance, in between 12 and 15. I see an AK pointing at me, and this time he's actually shouldering the gun, and it was the guy that I just shot and thought that I'd incapacitated or killed. He had, gotten back up, dusted himself off. They were also doped up. We didn't know that right then and there, but some guys found syringes and epinephrine and shit like that after the fact. But so I took the round, and then I shifted to my right. He'd gotten back up, looked out the doorway of the bunker, didn't see me anywhere. So he went ahead and came out, exposed himself, didn't see me, and then moved down the wall of the bunker until he saw me doing my piss poor, slow fucking reload. And then literally this time, shouldered the gun, and, I get like the one fucking Haji that actually shoulders the gun and shoots, at least this time when he did it. So I just basically reacted to him. I'm way behind the power curve. You know, he's all in my OODA loop at this point. I fucking start raising my rifle. And I feel like I had like an inch more to go, from my memory at least. And saw muzzle flash, and I was on the ground after that. And I was standing bladed, and caught me under the left armpit right there. We didn't have side plates at the time either. I put on a plate carrier with side plates now, and it definitely would have stopped it. But at the time, we didn't have side plates, and caught the round under my left armpit, and it blew apart my spleen, which I had to be removed shortly thereafter, and punctured my left lung, lacerated my stomach and my left kidney. My left kidney, kind of looks like the retarded slow one, and then completely severed my spinal cord at the T12L1 level, and then blew a chunk of my vertebrae out behind me. The rear staffy plate stopped it on the way out though, so it did work, just in reverse. So that part kind of sucked because they didn't know. There's a lot of fucked up things that happened. Thankfully, obviously I'm still alive, but they didn't know I had an exit wound because they didn't take my armor off and they didn't do a body sweep and everything. So I was actually, although they put the first generation quick clot on my entry wound, which gave me a nice nasty chemical burn. It saved my life, but I was bleeding out my back for 45 minutes and no one had any idea. And it was the exit wound, so it was bigger than the entry. So, I 45 minutes after the fact, when I finally got to the aid station, I hardly have any fucking fluids, any blood left pumped through me. So, before I kind of go back and rewind, to the crucial mistakes, just so everyone knows, it kind of has a happy fucking ending, obviously. Other than me being alive. The even better part is the fact that my guys were pretty pissed off about the fact that whenever I was already shot on the ground, and I was actually paralyzed from the neck down initially from just the shock to the spinal cord. I apologize, y'all hear it's raining like crazy. But so I was paralyzed from the neck down for like the first 10 minutes from the shock of it. And I could only move my head. So I'm kind of collapsed, and there's a wall behind me when I fell, and it prevented me from falling completely over. So I was basically on my knees. And I kind of come to, realize I'm fucked up, I hit bad. And, I'm like, I need to crawl around to the corner and get some aid from the corpsman. And at that point, I realized I can't move, and I didn't know if it was because I was being a scared little bitch. Like, at first, I thought I was just being a little pussy, and I was just frozen or something like, you hear about. I was like, fuck, come on, man. And then I realized now something's really I'm hit really bad. So started yelling for help, and then I looked back in the direction, and this is probably 5 seconds of time, but looked back in the direction that I'd gotten shot from and saw the guy just still fucking unloading at me. And I was just like, fuck. And yelled for help a little bit more. And I was just waiting for one of those rounds. I don't know why I was thinking this is the time, but I was just like, fuck, it's going to hurt like hell when that round comes and hits me right in my fucking face. Probably wouldn't have felt it, but for whatever reason, that's what I was thinking at the time. And I was just thinking about how nasty it was going to be when it exited and blew my brains out behind me and everything. So I didn't think about it until years afterwards, because I used to wonder, how did I not get hit again? He already hit me once. How could he not hit me again? For one, he was probably taking rounds at that point from my guys since he had moved up so much. But two, it's possible he did hit me again. He just hit me in the plate this time, since I was literally squared off at him. So he might have hit me in the plate. I just didn't recall it or didn't hear it or feel it or whatever. But my guys were pretty pissed off, and it's all impacts going all around me and blood fucking coming out of my mouth and everything. And they picked up an enemy RPG that they kindly left behind for us to use against them. And once they figured out the trigger system on it, shot it at the bunker, and that kind of quieted him down a little bit. And the guy that was already hit, wounded by a frag grenade, across the street, he was the squad leader, actually. He had hobbled his ass across the street when he heard I was hit, and him and another Marine came and started dragging me to safety at that point. And then they started lighting up all three of us because, you know, it was a great target. We would have all done the same thing. And so my guys started laying down some fire, and another Marine engaged with his M16, like a little bit. I don't know if he dumped the whole mag or what. Then he prepped a frag grenade and let the spoon fly as he was fucking like hauling ass towards the bunker, and fucking threw it in there in a little porthole, and it blew up. And his recollection is just, you know, it was like a blender in there, from this being such a small room, one room hut, that the overpressures didn't have anywhere to go, so it just kind of fucked them all up in there. And so yeah, they killed them all and got me out of there, basically. So rewinding, you know, it wasn't the one mistake that I knew that I made. Immediately after that, you know, when I'm in the hospital, I'm fucking playing it in my head over and over every single day, multiple times, was retaining my magazine. You know, either instead of just throwing it in a dump pouch, or, you know, what, looking back, what it, you know, should have done really was just fucking dumping it and letting it fall on the damn ground. That was about the one thing that I knew I fucked up. It wasn't until, you know, it would have been, I guess, 6 years after the fact, when I went to, well, I learned some stuff actually from watching the Magpul Dynamics DVD. I was like, oh, I didn't know that. That would have helped me out. But when I was in Jeff Gonzalez's Carbine 1 class, Trident Concepts class, it seemed like every course of fire we did, I was like, fuck, how did I not know that? Like, how the fuck, it doesn't seem that high speed. It's not like we're doing any, you know, dynamic room entries here today. I mean, every time we did a course of fire, it seemed that I was learning something that could have, you know, prevented me from being wounded that day. And, you know, I mean, Jeff talked about, you know, not standing completely bladed, you know, in case you're wearing armor and everything. And I was just like, fuck, I was standing bladed. You know, like I was on the damn rifle range back home, fucking you know, do my annual qualifying, you know, fucking like this or some bullshit. Sorry. My bad. But so I'm standing bladed like, you know, a jackass. And I'm like, how did I not fucking know this, you know? So, you know, rewinding, you know, right when I saw that guy, I mean, just that first fucking crucial error of basically point shooting at the guy. You know, I mean, yeah, you know, I wasn't near as good of a shot then as I am now, and now, you know, I could fucking easily light someone up at, you know, 15 yards, just point shooting or whatever. But still, in the heat of the moment like that, when your adrenaline's fucking pumping, to just expect, you know, I had, you know, 8 to 10 rounds to, you know, it's 8 to 10 chances to get this guy, and he's only exposing half of his body as well. And I just, you know, basically turn and unload on the guy. And although I caught him, you know, got him somewhere, that was pretty much luck. And I, you know, that's honestly what a lot of gunfights are. You know, our enemy is so shitty, honestly, that so many gunfights these days are won just by luck. I won't say these days necessarily. Back then, definitely. I'm not in the military anymore, so I can't really vouch for training these days. But back then, definitely, no doubt about it. We were facing an enemy who just was so fucking shitty. And, you know, when we would come out on top, because 10 of us were shooting one guy and act like do high fives and shit afterwards, it's like, what we do, you know? Or we'd have close calls or whatever. And pretty much talk about all this skill that we have when it was really a close call, and we don't really necessarily learn from that. and think, okay, what could I have done better? That was fucked up. I should have done this. I should have done that. And, you know, we just talk so much shit. And realistically, back then, once again, can't vouch for now, we just weren't near as good as we thought we were. But if I just would have taken that freaking half second to at least, if nothing else, get a front sight post on the guy, and, you know, a good side alignment on the guy, or front sight post. I mean, it just, no matter how many rounds you have, if you're not hitting what you're shooting at, it doesn't fucking matter. I had 8 to 10 chances, and it meant nothing. I pretty much wasted them all when I could have taken them out of the fight with, you know, a few very well placed shots. So obviously, once he fell down, you know, I thought I'd gotten it incapacitated or killed him. So kind of, you know, assuming that just because someone falls down, I mean, people, you know, as Pat Rogers says, people fall in gunfights all the time, whether it's because they're hit or they trip or whatever. There's that video, that cop being kind of charged with a guy with a knife that came out this past week, and he lit the guy up. You know, he's backstepping, yelling at the guy to stop, fired, I think, 1 round, and then tripped on that curb. And then, you know, if that guy would kept coming at him before he collected himself, I mean, he would have been fucked, you know. But yeah, you know, guys fall in fights all the time. But for me to just assume, you know, yeah, fucking smoke that guy just because he fell, and even if I did hit him, you know, it didn't matter, because just because you hit someone doesn't mean that they can't get back up. It happens all the freaking time. I mean, we all know that now, but at least most of us do anyways. So, you know, assuming that I incapacitated or killed him was just, you know, a crucial error, because that kind of took my head and put it in a place where it should have been. You know, I should have been assuming the worst instead of just kind of assuming the, you know, the best case scenario. And as far as shifting to my right and, you know, choosing concealment over cover, I don't really consider that to be a mistake. I mean, you can kind of go back and forth on that. If I just would have, you know, sped the fuck up on my reload, to be honest, it would have been a non-issue anyways. If I would have done the same piss poor, slow, disgusting reload that I did, yeah, hard cover would have been awesome. However, if, you know, I would have kept my fucking gun up, and that way, you know, guns up, heads up, and that would have made all the difference in the world. My situational awareness would have been so increased. I mean, I had no situational awareness the way I did it, you know, pointing my weapon down like this. And, you know, like I said, the reason I did that is simply because that's what I always did in training on the rifle ranges back home. No, I never learned. We never went over reloads once. And, you know, if I would have, you know, I don't want to make the assumption of saying if I, you know, just definitely the way it would have gone down, I could just picture it, you know, say, hey, you know, Lance Corporal, hey, how do we reload our weapons, you know? It most likely would have been something along the lines of, you fucking put another magazine in it, you dumbass. What the fuck's the matter with this boot? Jesus. But so, you know, yeah, we never went over reloads once. I think it was just kind of assumed that everyone knew how to do it. You know, you just put another magazine in, and that's it. It's pretty easy. But obviously not so much. So pointing the weapon down, taking the, you know, magazine out, and just retaining it like an idiot. You know, looking back, I'm just like, fuck, why did I retain this, you know, this piece of aluminum? This is plastic, but the one I had, it was aluminum, obviously. So, you know, I don't know if some of that goes back to, you know, day one at boot camp of, you know, if you lose your shit, you'll get NJP, you'll get thrashed, you'll get your ass kicked. You know, all this stuff is, your accountability is such a crucial thing in the Marine Corps and you know, and the Army, I'm sure in the military, you know, military wide, that, you know, you don't lose your gear, you just don't do it. So obviously I didn't want to lose this precious piece of aluminum, you know, that was worthless anyways, because the feed lips are all shot to shit. But so, you know, retaining that magazine and, you know, having to fiddle with it. If we are going to retain it, obviously, you know, dump pouch or something. We just didn't use them at the time. So retaining that magazine, and then having the other magazine, rounds up. Not the biggest issue in the world, just it's one extra thing that slows you down. If the index on a mag rounds up, you have to index it, or readjust it in your hand to regrip it, so that way you can stick it in the mag well of the weapon. So, and once I finally reloaded, if nothing else, if I did all this and just the way I did it, and regripped, bolt release, regrip, looked back up and saw that AK aiming in at me, I mean, that is just, a perfect opportunity for, moving off line of attack. I only had so much leeway with that. And sometimes you do, if you are fighting alongside other guys, just to my right, I couldn't have gone too far in that direction because, I had other guys shooting and would have been in danger of friendly fire. However, my left was clear, at least of good guys. And that's just a perfect example of, moving off line of attack, taking that good sidestep as you're bringing the gun up to ready the weapon. And even, shooting on the move, continuing to move as you're engaging. That way, I'd be a moving target rather than just standing there and reacting to the guy like I did, seeing a weapon and just being like, fuck, start to raise my weapon. I mean, he had all day to engage me. And, going all the classes that I've gone to, last year, I won't be hitting that near as many this year because I've got some stuff coming up, medical stuff, but I hit, 20 last year and about that number the year before. I've trained my ass off in the past 6 years, and just the amount of things that I've learned in these classes is just, almost everyone. Some of them are, have been garbage, but almost all of them have been pretty good. But almost any one, if you had dropped me in any one of those, for the most part, and just being in one of those, just a weekend, could have made all the difference in that fight. If I would have, continued, at least with dry practice, after the fact of learning drills and how to do certain manipulations and everything. So, I've learned a lot over the last 6 years, and in some of the classes that I go to, I'll, tell the story, usually a more shortened, condensed version, and just highlight the mistakes and everything. Because, anytime I'm, especially with law enforcement military guys, I want to pass on the knowledge that, has been earned with a lot of my blood, and it's very hard-earned lessons, or hard-learned lessons, and I like to pass the knowledge on so other guys don't make the same mistakes that I made, because, in 2016, there's no reason whatsoever to still be making these mistakes, but I still, all the fucking time, not one, for the most part, very few videos I watch in law enforcement or military shootings from, used to be Iraq, but now Afghanistan, seeing the moto videos and everything, they're fucking cool, fun to watch, I get some and all that stuff, but I'm just sitting there pointing stuff out like, fuck, guys, really? And we're 2016 here. We've been in the war on terror for a long fucking time, and y'all are still doing stupid shit that should have no place in training, let alone on the battlefield. So, it's important to me to tell a story and pass on knowledge to guys so that they can hopefully go home to their loved ones and also complete the mission and kill bad guys. So.